Hey everybody, welcome to Photography Chat, Season 2, Episode 41 with Ben, the Instant Graham. And we'll get him in here and get started. Hope everyone is having a great day, and hope you're doing well out there. Let's see if we can get Ben in here. There he is. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing spectacular. How are you doing?
Living the dream. It's just another day in paradise, you know?
That's what it's like here in this community. It's just paradise.
It really is. It's a great community. I've been very blown away by it the past few years I've been part of it.
Yeah, it just keeps getting stronger every dang day. I got my Squid Game jumper on. It's Halloween season. Give a little preview of the costume.
Nice. Um, so you're gonna be like a Florida retiree then?
Have you seen Squid Game on Netflix?
I was just fucking with you, man.
Oh my god, dude. My god, dude. Honestly, it's doubles though. It doubles. JP
Yeah.
says shout out to Ants. I would like to give a quick shout out to Ants. Have you ever just sat down and appreciated Ants? I mean, they're incredible.
They're
What they're
amazing.
doing. Yeah, what they're doing for society,
But
unbelievable.
what about ant farms though? No one's ever really talked about ant farms, and
There's sort of a moral issue I have with ant farms. It's these ants were not meant to be farmed like that. It's not something's not right about it. Do you agree?
no, it's absolutely like those little like skinny glass ones from
Oh,
like when we were kids. Um, I don't really dig those, but those ones where they build those like massive, huge,
yeah.
gigantor like multi-chamber things where it's almost like an ant condo. I think that's okay.
Yeah, I agree with you. We need the ants to have their space. The narrow glass ones are like the human rights violation equivalent for ants. I don't know what we would call that, but I guess an ants rights violation. Ants have rights.
I guess it'd be like the equivalent of like the U.S. like supermax prisons versus like Finland's like crazy like where
Exactly.
criminals go, and it's almost like like a resort of sorts.
Yes, yes. And, well, we're doing our best out here.
So I guess to just wrap that one up, ant farms are like America.
I don't think any statement has ever more succinctly summed up the plight of this country than ant farms are America.
So I
It's
guess like ant farms 2024. I don't know, like,
yeah, yeah, highly electable ant farms. JP's loving it.
I mean, like JP is he's the real goat. Like we
Yeah.
got
Oh,
that.
he's the absolute MVP of all time. I completely agree with you.
It's a real top. Like I don't know, like him and Han though. That's a tough one.
Yeah, they're sort of right now. They're sort of like neck and neck for me. I'm not sure how to like prioritize. I think they're both MVPs. I mean, you can win co MVP. I guess we can have them both up there.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's say co MVPs, like how BlackBerry used to have like two CEOs, and it worked so well for them.
I actually didn't know that. That is bizarre.
Yeah, that was like an interesting thing with BlackBerry was the two founders co-ran it for a while. Google was the same way
Oh,
too. Originally, Google was like co-CEOs between the two dudes that founded it.
wow! Who knew?
Yeah.
I honestly didn't know that. I mean, I guess it works in some cases and not in the other. Assistant to the MVP says JP. JP, I will say, is he doesn't even know it. I don't think we've discussed this. He's an honorary member of Sweet Boys University, which is a program that I've assembled, and perhaps Merlin, you can be inducted as well or join the curriculum. Essentially, the Sweet Boys are the men out there that are they're sweet, they're in touch with their emotions, they're friendly, and they're all about love. And I'm curious if you'd like to be a Sweet Boy as well.
I would love to be a sweet. Do we get jackets? Is
We're
that
gonna we're printing jackets. So I'm gonna have a seal, a wax seal. There may be tattoos. There may be like branding. I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen, but
So do we have to like do all of our correspondence now with like the sweet boys like whack? What about a seal, like a
yeah,
stamper thing? Oh man,
100%, 100%. And we'll all have to use the like Sweet Boys academic portal to communicate, no longer using Instagram or anything like that.
R.I.P. Meta.
Yeah, they had their time in the sun for one day.
I'm down with that.
All right,
I like this. JP is like sweet boys for life. I think he just came up with the motto there.
hell yeah.
I like that. When did you come up with the sweet boys thing?
It was a few months ago. I was shooting on the Cape with my friend Matt and Sunny, and I don't know where the hell it came from, but we were just like, man, we are like, we're just like a bunch of like sweet boys right here. Like we are just loving life. We were having very like deep conversations on this trip, and it put me in touch with the thing that I try to surround myself with, which is other people who are like very in touch with their emotions. And at this point, the term masculinity has evolved over the years, but at this point it's like I'm only surrounding myself with guys that are like all in on just the opening up, being honest. That's the real masculinity in 2021.
I 100% agree. How do you feel about saying "I love you" to like your male friends?
Easy. Say it all the time. Good night. I love you.
Absolutely,
It's
sweet dreams.
yeah,
You know?
100%. And I love you and I'm in love with you is often used.
Absolutely. I like saying that to people that are important to me all the time. It doesn't matter sex or whatever. And I think like there's an interesting thing that people need to sort of like divorce there, where it's just like, love and sex are not intermingled.
Totally.
You can
Totally.
absolutely love people that you do not have any physical attraction to whatsoever, and you can be intimate with people that you have no feelings for whatsoever.
Exactly. And we're being more in touch with that intimate side of friendship, and I think that that's just the healthy way to be, and it's all about love. And something that I've always wanted to like port into the like YouTube channel is just like the love fest. It's like the positivity, the having a big heart and going into everything with that in mind is it's important. It's important to hold me.
It's absolutely important. I think Bobby Wiseau said it best in The Room. Everyone just needs to love each other a lot more, and the world would be a better place.
I'm fed up with this world.
You're tearing me apart.
Do you understand life? I've seen that movie a lot in theaters.
It's such a good movie. It's one of those movies that is so terrible that it like jumps the shark on being terrible. It like comes around and it's actually a good movie.
It is an unbelievable movie, and I've met Greg Sestero a couple times. He friended me on Facebook out of nowhere.
Seriously?
The guy Ark. Yeah, it was unreal. Yeah,
well, I mean, you just won at life. You can retire now. Like that's.
I know. I pretty much. That's why I'm wearing my retirement jumpsuit because I'm pretty much done now.
Yeah, exactly, man. Wow, how did you like? Where did you come across Greg Sestero?
Greg. Not a lot of people are aware of this necessarily, but he directed two movies that came out like kind of recently. There were part one and part two that Tommy Wiseau was in. They're really weird and must-see movies. But he would come by my like local theater to screen them, and so I saw him like a few times at that theater, and he's just an incredibly nice guy. I have no idea why he friended me on Facebook. That was like, not sure where it came from, but I appreciate the love, Greg.
Maybe he like preemptively knew Sweet Boys was going to be a thing, and he wanted to get close to you, so that he started like the Sweet Boys crew when that actually happened.
Yeah, I gotta send him a text. I think we might want to rope him into this for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, did you take the opportunity when you met him to be like, oh, hi, Mark?
Well, here's the thing. It's like everybody's going to do that to him, so I didn't want to like inundate him with that. I figured the thing you would appreciate most is if I told him how much I liked the movie that he made. Like, because, he put his heart and soul into this thing, and he's only known from being in The Room. So, telling him that I loved his movie that he, dedicated his life to, I think resonated a little bit. So I hesitated, I held back.
I can respect that completely. 'Cause, I mean, that's amazing he's done work outside of the room because I kind of feel like for most people that probably was a career destroyer.
Oh, it absolutely destroyed so many people's careers. Yeah.
Right? So many questions to it because there's like so many like storylines that start that just end. Like the mom, it's like, I have cancer. Anyways, I'm gonna go.
They tried to actually make a documentary about where everyone ended up from the room, like where are they now, kind of thing. And Tommy Wiseau sued them, and
Really?
it's terrible. It's honestly really sad because they made this documentary. I think they invested like over $100,000 in traveling around and interviewing everybody. And yeah, they got sued. And so this movie has been made, and probably 3 years ago they finished it. So it's just sitting there. Tommy's protective of his intellectual property, and I guess we have to honor that. But
Well, I mean, it's interesting calling it intellectual property.
oh my god.
I mean, there's one thing that I found really interesting, like learning more about the movie, was there was always something weird about Denny, and I was
Oh
like, what? Like, why is Denny so weird? And it turns out Denny was actually supposed to be like a mentally stunted character. And the actor that got hired to play Denny, when he was reading it, he was like, "This is fucking offensive. Like, I can't do this." And so Tommy's like, "Okay, fine, whatever, don't do it." But he didn't rewrite the script at all. So he just left the script the same as someone who's supposed to be mentally stunted. And this guy just played it like a normal person, which made him seem like an absolute psychopath.
yeah, and he's like too old for the role too. He's like supposed to be a kid, but he's a little man. It's very uncomfortable, but that's why we love it. That's why it's still in our hearts today. That's why we're still talking about it today.
It's such a great one. But Rodrigo has a question here. How many Polaroid cameras do you have?
Oh my god. I actually don't know. I don't like to even know. I feel like it would be like bad to know. Um, I've recently started selling a couple things, which I've never really done before, just because I felt kind of bad that I've accrued so many. But I mostly own cameras that I use. The cameras that I have that I don't use are like they don't work, or they're old pack film cameras or something like that. So I mostly have a very like small core of cameras that I actively use, and I try not to hold on to things for too long. That like I sold my Lomo Instant Square the other day. I just felt like somebody else should have that. If I'm not using it, someone else should have it.
That's a great camera, though.
It is a great camera, yeah. But I was using the Diana Square and fell in love with that. And so I was like, all right, do I need two lomography square shooters? I think I can just settle with one.
That's totally fair. Like I use the Lomo Square mostly as a cheap alternative to giving strangers instant photos over a Polaroid.
That's a good idea. Yeah, that makes sense. Are you good with it? Like the viewfinder is kind of hard to use sometimes.
Well, the zone focusing is really fucking annoying on it because
That is also
70% of the time you're taking a blurry ass photo. But when
right.
you nail it, it's so nice.
Oh, it's amazing when you nail it. Yeah.
But I've gotten a little bit better with it with like the judging because like I was never good with maths or science or whatever. So that whole like judging distance and stuff
Yeah.
has been an alien thing to me. But I've gotten better with that, and it just usually lives in my backpack so I can give away photos to people.
We've got a
But
viewfinder back comment in that.
it is. Um, I like the format though. Like I really like the format, and I feel as though like getting rid of camera things. Like I just went to my first camera show as like a person selling the other weekend, and it was horrifying to realize that I had enough stuff to look like one of these camera vendor guys, and I was like, okay, yeah, I think I have a problem now. Yeah,
Yeah, no, this is like an absolute issue that needs to be addressed. And you know, you're looking at yourself in the mirror essentially when you look at a table full of cameras, but that's how it goes.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was an
but I'm
interesting
better
experience.
about it. And I try not to go over the like I pretty much like my stable of cameras, like the thing that I would if you just cut me off tomorrow always be using is the Polaroid 600 SE, the pack film camera, the Pentax 645 N2, and the Polaroid SLR 680. Like those three cameras. If you just like told me, Ben, you can't have another camera, I'd be totally fine. That being said, I just got a Mamiya RB67 yesterday, so it's like I can't be trusted, and I'm a hazard to myself. But
I saw that in your stories. That's very nice.
yeah, I'm a hazard. I'm a hazard to myself. Uh, Polographic, do you still have the Fuji 500 AF? I actually sold that because the Lomo graph lock back, I feel like, is the best way for me to use Instax wide. So I didn't really hold on to any Instax wide cameras.
That's fair. The 500 AF is something that I'd like to put in the stable at some point.
Yeah.
Because I do so much still with the 4x5 on like pack film and sheet, like instant sheets, that I haven't been able to justify doing the graph lock yet.
Yeah. Wait, which film are you using for 4x5?
I still have some like Type 55 and
Ooh.
some other sheets there, and then a bunch of ready load too that have been sitting on, and
Sheesh.
a bunch of FP100 that I've debated selling it, because it's like every time I look at the fridge, I'm like, you're just so much money. There's so many
Yeah.
things you could do, but then it's like, but then if I wanted to shoot you, I can't justify spending how much people want for it now.
Right. Oh, wait. So you're saying that you feel bad shooting it as well because it's
No,
like.
I don't feel bad shooting it, but
Oh.
I call it unicorn tears, because it's like every time you pull the tab and you pull it out, it's just like one more tear is just like come out of the unicorn, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, so, but I fucking love shooting it.
Yeah.
It's like hands down my favorite film type that has ever been made. So I'm glad that Florian started One Instant and created that, so that when the stocks of FP100 and its ilk finally do dry up and go away completely, there's still an option to be able to use those cameras, even though it's expensive as heck.
Yeah. I mean, I really hope that they're able to distribute in the US or something. I mean, the shipping cost right now is kind of brutal. As much as I've been like the number one like Super Sense guy, like I love Super Sense film. I have no problem with how it shoots. I think it's beautiful, honestly. The price per unit, I understand why it's so high, but the shipping being like 50 euros or something, it's like brutal. Like I can't afford to do that. That's 20 pounds or 20 euros a frame. It's just like, that's too much.
It's a bit insane. I'm excited though about the new land stuff. I want to.
Yeah, that's gonna be cool. I'm very into that. I think that it's a great way to revitalize those cameras. The only issue with it, I guess, is that like the photos will be reversed. Like I don't know if you've ever used Polaroid film on like the Goose or whatever, or an RB or something like that, and the images are flipped. So that's the only like drawback. If there's any text or if it's a sign or something, it'll be flipped.
It's the same as like 8x10 Polaroid using the new Polaroid 8x10. It's all in
right. It's exactly. It's flipped on new 8x10. Whoops! I just almost knocked that over.
I mean, if you wanted to like get really creative and fuck around with it, you could shoot people through mirrors with it.
There you go. Or only take mirror selfies.
There you go. That's an expensive mirror selfie camera.
Pete Madden says flip it in post, baby.
On the pack film one though, Pola Junkie asks, with the FP100 prices going so ridiculous, what's the most you pay for a pack?
Yeah, the prices have gone very dummy. I will be just out with it. I kind of resolved to stop buying it. I have like a store of it in my fridge. Its prices have really risen by like $40 at least in the last like year and a half, which makes sense because it's getting very rare. But like a few weeks ago, Lauren sort of enables me occasionally. She's my fiance. And she's always like, well, you're going to really want this. Like, we got to make sure that you have a little bit of it left. And so we like bought 5 packs from Japan for like $80 a pack or something. And I was like, that's it. Like, I think I can't possibly go above that. The price of like 100 a pack is so ridiculous. It's as beautiful and amazing as the film is, it's almost wrong to pay that much for it. You know, it doesn't feel right.
Absolutely, when it used to be like $12 a pack when it was new.
Yeah, It's not like cool anymore it's not cool to spend that much on FP100C. Like it doesn't feel nice to do it as much as I love the film. I'm also not great at valuing sheets on like a dollar figure. Like once I buy it, I'm going to shoot it and I'm not
Yeah.
going to like worry over the top about it. And so, I might burn through like 4 sheets of FP and I'm not in my head thinking, Ben, that was $40. And that's not good either. So I feel like I got to just stop and just shoot what I have.
I was just talking to Han about this of just like the film hoarding, and
Yeah.
whenever I look at the film fridge, I'm just like, there's so much money in there. Like what?
It's bad. It's bad. You can't think like that.
It's like, what's wrong with me? Mascara Productions asks a question for both. Have you entered a photo contest? And if so, what memories gives you that photo?
What memories gives you that photo?
I mean, first one, have you ever done a photo contest?
I did, but it wasn't very, I'm just going to say this. It wasn't rigged, but it wasn't fair. I submitted, um, like 4 years ago. This was not fair. NBC or Rockefeller Center, sorry, Rockefeller Center had a contest that was like, we want photos that exemplify Christmas around Rockefeller Center. And I worked at NBC at the time, and I had like an incredible point of view at the ice rink. So like occasionally at lunch, I would take out like a 300 millimeter lens and shoot down on the rink. And so I had this like POV that nobody else had, and I submitted to that contest and won. But it was not fair. I had a POV that nobody else had access to. So that's my only experience really trying to do that, I feel like. What about you? Have you been doing the contests?
I mean, I don't feel like that's rigged. You took advantage of the situation that
Yeah. It just
yeah.
felt like, I had the upper hand and it didn't feel fair, but literally the upper hand. I mean, I was on the 9th floor, so.
Well, and I mean, this is why you're like the chairman and CEO of Sweet Boys.
That's true. Like, I can be honest about this stuff. I can feel bad about things like this because it's just, there's too much sweetness going on here.
That's absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I hope you donated the proceeds to like.
Oh, yeah. It went to every charity you can imagine. Name one, it went there.
The Human Fund,
Yeah.
I never did a photo contest thing, but there was that print swap
Mm-hmm.
thing that was like kind of popular a few years back, where they would get you to pay money to put your photos into this thing, and your photo would get sent to someone, and then you'd get someone else's photo. And that was kind of a cool thing because like you got selected. I'm like, ooh, this feels special. This is so neat. But then I didn't really like any of the prints that I got. I was just kind of like,
Okay.
man, this I put like my A1 work out there, and this one is not.
Yeah.
Not great.
It's the risk. I mean, that's the risk with like Secret Santas or anything like that, where you can put your best into it, and really that should be the spirit of it. But you sometimes get something back that's just like kind of trash.
Yeah, and then like I feel like a dick because I'm just
right.
Like, someone obviously thought this was really fantastic, and in all rights it could be, but it's just not my aesthetic or what I enjoy. So,
right.
It just ends up in the pile of art that I have that has just not made it anywhere, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, at least it's in a pile.
Someone sent me cat photos in one of those once.
I could, not ideal, but maybe cats.
It's also, it kind of made me realize that like the selection process for the print swap maybe wasn't really that discerning, where it wasn't really
right.
that special of a thing to be selected, because cat photo, and nothing wrong with cat photos. Who doesn't like a good cat photo? Like,
yeah. I mean, it devalues it a little bit, but that's okay. I mean, you did your best, and that's all you could have done.
Oh man, JP has thrown one out here. Who has more pack film, Ben or Merlin?
Holy crap! What a great question. Hold on, let me just peek in my fridge. How much do you have? Do you know?
Oh geez, like probably like 30 packs or so.
Okay, I would say I probably have 25 of like FP, but I definitely have I have like 5 boxes of like 4x5 peel apart film too. So that's probably about 30 total.
So we're probably neck and neck there.
We're neck and neck, JP.
Yeah. I have some of the Have you shot some of the Super Sense yet?
Oh yeah, I love it. I haven't bought it in. Sorry, the chat like got in my window. Um, I haven't bought it in a few months, but yeah, I've shot the normal stuff. I shot the black and white. They sent me like
I'm still waiting for the black and white.
yeah, I also ordered it and I haven't gotten that. But they Chris, the production guy, production manager, sent me their first tests like in December, and it was so cool. It was like really cool to get like a prototype of a film. I think that was the first time that I'd ever gotten something like that, and it was like really messy. He's like, "Be careful, this will explode in your camera." He didn't even know if it was going to arrive like intact. And the first shot looked really good. Beautiful. It went sepia actually, which I'm not even sure if it is going to like the new stuff. The second one, the peel like slipped along the unit when I pulled it out. So like only half of the image printed on the photo. So interesting stuff. I mean, I love like the messiness of Super Sense, but you know, in that case, it didn't work out perfectly. But yeah, I love Super Sense stuff. And you do have some in the fridge?
I do have some in the fridge. I have like 3 or 4 frames of it left. I'm curious though, the black and white, does it have the same smell as the color?
That's a great question. I remember it kind of smelling like paint. I wouldn't say it was the same smell. There was chemistry everywhere. The
Okay.
inside of my holder was soaked. Drive-by film, what up? Yeah, talk about dirty peels.
Well, and I mean with Super Sense, when you're shooting the color, anyone that shot it, dirty peel is definitely an appropriate.
Yeah, these be some sloppy peels for sure.
Yeah, it's
But that's really, I think, the beauty of it.
yeah, kind of like it reminds me of like this old Pee Wee Herman meme that I saw like way back in the day, where it's a cartoon like drawing of him holding up like the letter of the day kind of thing, and the letter said Bukake.
Look, like that's good
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, and I
That's high
mean
quality.
it works with the Super Sense because
Oh, for
that
sure. For anyone
very
just tuning in, wearing a Squid Game costume, just in case it wasn't clear, I'm repping the Squid Game right now. I'm actually in a Squid Game right now. They let me sort of leave the auditorium for a second to come do this live, but there is a gun trained on me right now, so I'm having a good
so,
time.
in Squid Game, who's your favorite character?
I love 001. That's why I got his the old man. I just love the way he moves through. I will obviously won't spoil anything, but uh, yeah, I almost don't want to say anything more than that. But I just love the way he moves through the games with such like almost childlike because of how old he is. Um, wonder, you
I
know.
guess it's the joy of dementia. Everything just seems
That's what
less.
I'm looking forward to. That's what I'm really looking forward to. Is
Yeah,
that big doll girl watching? That doll is right off camera. I can't even touch the phone, otherwise they'll pull the trigger. But it's she's right over there. So
I went to my partner's house the other night and I got out of the car and it was dark out and I heard that like the robot talking from like a field over by her house and it's like in the pitch black and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
that's
Like,
incredible.
it was the whole talking in the song and we're just like, oh man, someone's playing Squid Games in the field. That's kind of fucking crazy. Um,
If it and there was a time of probably at least 1 week where if you were anywhere in the entire U.S. or the world, someone was watching Squid Game within like 30 feet of you. So it was likely you were hearing audio from that.
No, they were in a field. Like they had big speakers. It was like super loud. It was kind of crazy. This was just like the other week.
Okay, that's upsetting.
So Cody's got a question here. What's your deserted island camera and film stock of choice?
Ooh, that's a great question. So it's a deserted island. There's nothing on it besides me and my dreams. Well, I think honestly, the Polaroid 600 SE and the FP100C might be kind of like a great choice for that, because it's like you're producing a well. The only here and here's the drawback of that choice. Before you go off of that, it might be nice to actually pick like a color negative or a slide film, because even having to do something else, like go into the dark room on the island, like that might be a nice thing to do. Whereas with FP, you can clear the negative, but there's not really much more you can do. But having like the darkroom activities might be fun, so it might be worth picking like Ektachrome for me. That might be what I go with for film stock.
I think like if we could pick any, oh, fuck, someone said it right there. I was gonna say an SX70 with time zero manipulatable, because
Because
like
you could do some paint. Yeah, you could do some stuff in
exactly,
post. That.
you could take pictures of like the birds that just keep getting closer and closer to like picking you apart and make cool. Like
Exactly. Doing an emulsion lift with your blood.
that's so metal. Like
It's very metal, but that's what it will come down to on the island. Trust me.
I like that you can use the goose as a weapon to fight animals. I like that. That's why I use a Nikon F5 for street photography, because
Exactly.
it takes great photos, but it also doubles as a weapon if someone tries to fuck with me.
Yeah, I mean, you could absolutely knock somebody cold with that.
Absolutely. There's been a few times where I was just like, I was ready to like clock someone with it because they started like getting ready like they're gonna do something, and so I was just like getting it all gripped up, ready, just like.
Have you ever been confronted on the street for taking photos of other people?
Yes, I have.
How did you like diffuse it?
Most of the time I'm like, well, it's film, so I'm not gonna waste a photo on you, because like the only people that have confronted me so far were like really upset crackheads that
Uh,
like felt like I was
crack-
like, yeah, and they're like, you can't take my fucking picture, and I'm like, I'm not. I really don't want to remember you. I'm sorry. Like,
so you never were actually taking a photo of the person who confronted you?
I was taking like a photo adjacent to them, so it's like it would look like I was
Yeah.
taking a photo of them, but like it was something off to like the side of them or like around them, but they weren't in the frame. Because I don't really like taking people shots a lot. It's something that I've been making more of an effort to do the last few years, but for a long time I really avoided people shots. If it was like if they were looking at the camera and things like that, if there were just people in the background, that was fine, but I just didn't want to have a lot of confrontation. And usually, like how I avoid that, if I want to take a picture of someone, like up close, I got these little cards from
Yeah,
Moon.
Pete has stickers that he gives out.
Well, I have both. I've got stickers, and I had these little little cards from Moo made.
Oh,
That
Moo makes beautiful cards.
Yeah, and so I just had like a bunch of different photos put on each one, and it's got like all my info on it. Or I ripped off the Polaroid originals,
Ah, that's so cool.
and so if there's someone who I want to take like their photo, I'll go up to them and be like, hey, like not a total weirdo, but like, is it cool if I take your photo just before I interrupted you, whatever you're doing, just like act like I never bothered you, and here's how you could get a hold of me. I might post on Instagram, and if you see it and you hate it, let me know and I'll take it down. And
Wow, that's very holistic of you. You're
yeah,
like them the out to like have you delete it.
what's that?
You're giving them like an out to have you like delete the photo if they don't like it.
Yeah, because I don't want someone to feel like they're being taken advantage of, or
Oh,
like
absolutely, yeah.
having their personal space violated. Um, I know there's a lot of photographers that don't give a shit about that. Like I've watched dudes that like take their cameras and like just stick them in someone's face and like just do a couple shots, flash and everything, blinding them, and they're like, "That's a great shot," and I'm like, "You kind of like assaulted that person with
Yeah, that's like almost assault, especially with a flash. That's like pretty much assault. That's not something a sweet boy would do.
No, and that I like definitely a member of Sweet Boy University.
Exactly. Everything you're saying is honestly we might have you teach a class on street photography for this
I
very.
I feel like this is more of like an interview for Sweet Boy University.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm an administrator at the program, and we are considering your application. So very very good information I'm getting from your end.
I like this. This is great. Um, we got another question here. Polaroid emoji asks, "How many 8x10 shots have you taken?"
Wow, great question. I've That's a really good question. I've probably taken about 30 plus at this point. I have like 2 boxes left in the fridge, and like now I'm on watch right now. I'm nervous. I got 1 box with color, 1 box of black and white left, and it really is a use it or lose it format. The 8x10 stuff starts going sour pretty quick, and it's been 2019 was when I bought it. So like that's troubling. But I gotta fire off. I took a great shot of Pete. Like anytime someone comes for a visit to the studio, that's always a good opportunity to bust it out and take like a special shot of them. So yeah, I'd say about 30 plus. And always trying to take more. Always trying to use it and not lose it.
You got me worried now because I've got some 2017 Impossible in the fridge that is probably.
It's definitely gonna have the stripe thing where there's like a stripe down the middle, and that seems to be the first thing that happens with the expired film is like the pods start being completely uneven and like striping weird.
I'm all right with that. I kind of like it when it gets funky like that. Like I kind of went the opposite way because I've been wanting to shoot 8x10 so bad for so long, but it's so fucking expensive to like get into, and I've got everything but the camera now because I found like a really good deal on the processor, and the holders and some film. I just need a camera.
Wow, you've got all the good stuff. The camera is really inexpensive in compared to all that other stuff.
Yeah, in comparison, it really I couldn't believe how expensive processors got.
It's absolutely brutal. That's how it goes though with these like really rare materials that are made only in 10-year period of history that we're using for the rest of like with no new equipment being made besides those manual processors, it gets pricey.
I blame Cat Labs.
I blame Cat Labs.
Yeah.
I absolutely. I have the holder that they sell that was like $400. It sucks.
It's crazy. I can't. So I got a really good deal on this because it was the processor, a used holder, and a brand new old stock one that had never been busted out. And it's crazy how expensive it is because it's just literally a little stepper motor and a couple of big massive steel rollers.
Exactly. It's just like the ejection port of a Polaroid camera just blown up. There's no reason to be that much. And back when Polaroid first discontinued the format, it was unclear that it was going to come back, and the processors were like $50. Like,
yeah,
it sucks now thinking about. I mean, there's always hindsight in the film world. Everything is hindsight with every single film stock and every single piece of equipment, but it does hurt now.
Well, I was just talking to a new old friend, and he was talking about when he bought his Deerdorf in like the 80s, and he's like, "Yeah, I bought this for like $500." I'm like, "Just shut the fuck up." Just what?
Sheesh!
Exactly. I was just like, "You're gonna make me cry." So I would. It's crazy, and like another guy was like, "Oh yeah, you used to buy Leicas for like a couple $100," and I'm like, just stop.
Yeah, I don't want to hear. Actively do not want to hear that.
Yeah, that's not a fun story because
no, that's bad news bears.
It's just crazy how expensive gear has gotten in the last little bit. Like, I bought my F5 in 2017 for like $250. And then I was like, I kind of want to get a backup just in case this dies, and they're like $500-600 now.
Absolutely nuts. It's honestly affecting my reviews a little bit. Like I have my earliest review is probably like March 2020 or something, and even in that tiny time window, the prices of the things that I'm reviewing are dramatically rising. So all the comments are like, "Well, where can I find this camera for $20?" I'm like, it was $20 back when I released the video. Now it's like 50 for no reason.
Yeah.
It's crazy. There's been a crazy amount of inflation. I think there's a good and a bad element to it. The good element is that a lot more people are into film photography, so the competition for these cameras is way higher. That's what that means. But the bad thing is that it's making so much stuff inaccessible. However, the other element of it is that a lot of these cameras are professional cameras. They're now getting back to the price point that they were new. Like the Pentax 645, I don't even know what it sells for now, but it's probably like 1,800 maybe now. And that camera was $2,000 back then. So like it's almost like the market has corrected back to its original place because the demand is back. But it's tough because there's not that many good amateur cameras that are being made now. You know.
Yeah, Waster of Silver just said he picked up his first M6 for $600 in the '90s.
Well, that's just
that,
that's I like I
that
don't like.
that's mean.
We got Kyle Depew in the chat, and that's huge for Biz. That's massive for B.
This is a funny question. Um, Kodak pack film, chances of it happening from 0 to 10.
I'm doing the Usain Bolt right now. I would.
I'm
Wow.
curious to hear your take on it. And
Yeah, when the rumor first percolated, my first thought was 0 out of 10. That was like my initial impression because the cost of production would be extremely high. Kodak, yes, they revived Ektachrome and it was a huge accomplishment, but pales in comparison to the accomplishment, in my opinion, of bringing back a format that uses completely different materials than celluloid. And so I was like 0, 0, 0. The person that told me about that rumor initially was very clear with me that that this was like a legitimate source. This wasn't just like a made up thing. Like they were actually exploring this in some capacity. But I don't think that it's possible. I would give it at this point like a 3, maybe a 2, just because it seems like a niche product for an even smaller subset of people who would want that. You know what I mean? Like people don't know
I,
what pack.
I would give it a 1.
Yeah, I'd say one. One is a safe bet.
Because the biggest problem, and this is why Florian had to go the direction he did with Super Sense, is the packing. No one knows how to build the
Oh
machines, pack them like that. And the last remaining machines that existed in the world to do it, Fuji repurposed to pack cosmetics. So fuck you, Fuji.
yeah, I mean the only thing that originally when this leaked, the only thing that to me was in its favor is that Kodak did produce pack film, in the like late '60s, the '50s and '60s. They were working on roll film and pack film. So like Kodak actually did produce that stuff for Polaroid. So like they maybe have all that information somewhere about like how to build the accordion style packs and stuff like that, but it still
Well,
seems very.
Kodak made some of the raw materials, but Polaroid still did the finishing.
Yeah, but they still may have shared some level of information. I'm not sure, especially because Polaroid, said yes to Kodak eventually when Kodak kept begging them to make their own pack film. So like maybe Kodak at that point apparently they had been in research and development on how to do it. So I don't know. It seems far fetched, like the most far fetched thing ever. But sometimes I just like to daydream. Can you just imagine if that news dropped on Google News search and it says Kodak releasing PR44 pack film? The community would just empty their bowels immediately.
I'd make out with whoever.
Oh yeah,
They
I'd
made.
kiss the freaking skeleton in the corner of the room that I've got dressed up for Halloween. I'd be kissing.
I'd be stoked on that.
I'd go to a graveyard and kiss the freaking stones. I would do whatever. I'd be dancing in the streets.
It would be amazing. What I would like them to see bring back, and could be less of a niche product than the pack film, is ready load sheets of 4x5.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. Ready load would be awesome. I think that was such a cool technology. Seems like such a weird thing that it was discontinued, other than large format film being a lot less commonly used. But
Well, so it was discontinued because it was a partnership between Kodak and another film company that really loves killing products that people love. I guess you
I
could
can't
probably,
think of which. I can't think of which. I
yeah, it's a
can't.
form. You couldn't imagine a company that
Nah,
wanted to do
I
that.
can't think of anyone
But
doing that.
that partnership fell sour, and that's why the product went away because there was like patents that Fuji held and patents that Kodak held, and you needed both to make it work.
Yeah. And that being said, New 55 is making ready load. I don't
They
know if you
do, yeah.
they do, but it's like very small scale, obviously, and they sell out almost immediately every time they do it. But um, they do it, so they've clearly figured out how to do that.
Yeah. The new 55 guys are doing some cool wizardry.
Yeah, that stuff's amazing, but they have production issues of their own that are really bad. I mean, people are still waiting on orders from a year and a half ago that they placed. Like it's gotten really backed up, so that's unfortunate. It feels like every single um like new 55 Super Sense, they could use one person who's like a genius with 3D printing and machinery to like really help them out. If they're I think they're both piece that could really make production more viable because as it stands, hand making film is just always going to be extremely expensive and
Yeah.
a niche thing and only for people that have a lot of disposable income, which I guess film shooters have to have.
Yeah, really. I Mascara Productions asked, talking about the devil, do you think that Fuji will ever release a new wide format camera?
That's a very good question, especially in lieu of the fact that they just released a printer for the wide format film.
I'm
And
stoked about that.
I think,
Fuck you,
yeah,
JP,
I
for getting one early.
mean, yeah, JP freaking hacked the system. I don't love like the printers necessarily, but what I'll say is that it's a huge positive sign for the fact that Fuji's invested in wide film. The fact that they even released that product to me tells me that they are probably planning to release a camera, and they released black frame. I mean, that's pretty sick. So I think that there's a
That's
high
awesome.
chance that there will be an exact wide camera soon.
I'm curious to see the printer because Big Head Taco and a friend of mine, Clint, here in Vancouver, finally convinced me to explore the dark side a little bit more, and I went Fuji digital.
Ooh,
And I've kind of been loving it, honestly. Like it's gotten me sort of jazzed about photography because I've been in a funk the last little bit. But I'm curious to see how this will work with
yeah,
the wide printer. You can direct connect these to like the Square and the Instax Mini, but I'm
that's
curious to
very
see.
that's a
Yeah, I'm curious to see how it would work hooking the Fuji digital up with the wide because that could be kind of cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept. It's like, it's almost instant. It's almost an instant camera. If it's like connected via the internet, it's in the universe.
Yeah, it's in that universe there. Like
Yeah,
um I feel like Dan says, do you guys think Polaroid is going to beat Fuji in this lawsuit?
that's a great question. I can't actually speak about that matter, but I don't know. I hope that both parties find an amicable ending to those proceedings. And that is my response to that question. Um,
Is
Polographic Lomo needs an automatic wide glass camera. I completely agree. I would love if Lomo had a glass wide camera. I think that would be sick.
That would be wicked
Um,
awesome.
I saw a prototype of one once. It wasn't a prototype. It was a prototype like of the wide that had a glass lens on it because it was just like a prototype, and it was like why isn't that the product? Like that would be so great. Or just one that has like an interchangeable mount or something. I used the Nons camera recently. I don't know if you've used that before.
I
The
saw you
like
talking about that. I wanted to ask you about it. What's it like?
it's really interesting. It's one of the most interesting instant cameras I've ever used. It feels ergonomically like a normal SLR camera. It is an SLR. Like there's a mirror that moves horizontally. Like when you cock the shutter, you're pulling the mirror away in like this direction from the film plane. It's really interesting. And the quality of the images you can produce on it are extremely good because, you know, Instax is a great film. You can put any lens you want in front of it. The only issue is, well, there's a couple issues. One of them is that it's a medium format camera essentially with a 35 millimeter like prism basically. So you're not seeing the full image. And the other issue is that most people are going to use full frame lenses on it, and that doesn't cover Instax Mini. So there's like a lot of vignetting. So there's a couple problems with it in that regard. I think you can adapt medium format lenses onto it if you wanted to, and I don't think you would have that issue. But I feel like most people aren't going to do that. It has like an EF mount, the one I have. So it's really cool though, and I would love like if there was a wide version of that camera, that would be almost the dream instant camera at this point.
An SLR wide would be so
good. It would be
I-
enormous, but it would be so cool.
I've said this in so many other chats that like I do have a healthy hate towards Fuji, which I've had to eat some crow recently in buying the digital camera. And you know, to I feel like Dan's point, the Fuji digital cameras are really fucking amazing. Like,
Yeah.
This thing has not ceased to amaze me in the like 3 months that I've had it. The Fuji glass is like fucking mind blowing. The Instax Medium is a beautiful film, but most of Fuji's cameras are pieces of shit.
I like the way you said that. that was like very well said. Yeah, I mean that's the issue with it. And luckily they haven't seemed to go after anybody about making cameras. Like the fact that Lomography has been able to make cameras is great. Mint, you know, the third party cameras are interesting. I feel like nobody has like absolutely 100% nailed one yet. Where like the RF70 is maybe close, but the lens is a little too wide, it's too expensive. I just think that there's like an ideal camera out there that hasn't been made yet. That's like a glass lens, Instax wide camera that even if it's not an SLR, even if it's a rangefinder, that just goes one step further than maybe the RF70. I think that would do us a whole lot of good. Is it too much to ask?
I don't think so.
I don't think it's too much to ask.
Nelson asks, Ben, your channel is super underrated and I love it. I shoot mirrorless but want to get more into film. What would you recommend that isn't an Instax for a beginner?
Is that a question about like generally cameras?
Yeah, I guess generally cameras because they don't want to do Instax. So,
Well, interesting. I mean, Lauren, my fiance, like I've been not trying to get her into shooting because like I'm not gonna like try to like pull her into this universe any further than she's been, which is like having to deal with me doing this all the time. But I did get her a camera. I got her a T2, and she broke it like almost immediately. So now she's shooting. Now she's shooting with a Pentax zoom, like the IQ zoom cameras, and I feel like it's become a great starter 35 millimeter camera. Like it's $30. It's a great way to, the fact that it has zoom, the viewfinder is really nice. Obviously you can turn the flash off, and there's like a timer and a red eye removal. Like it has some features that are pretty nice. I would say that's like a nice starter point and shoot camera that's very cheap because Pentax made so many of them. That's just for the point and shoots. But if you're looking for like an SLR, I mean, you can get like a Minolta probably at a thrift store for $20. I would say probably go that route.
I had a feeling you'd be a Minolta gang guy.
I did, yeah. I've got a Minolta SLR on the shelf back there.
Yeah, the X700. I've heard fantastic things about that. For an SLR, I kind of like those Minoltas, the Olympus systems, the Pentaxes are great.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of the AE1s for starter SLR cameras. You can't really go wrong with those ones. But for like a point and shoot, I'm gonna go even crazier than you. Go get yourself one of those Lomo reusable point and shoots.
yeah.
It's like $40. It comes with a pack of film, and you can go nuts with it. And I've been really blown away by that Lomo instant, or that Lomo reusable camera. one of my favorite things to do with it is shooting Cinestill with it.
Oh wow. Okay. That's
Right.
that.
It's
Oh.
kind of great because like the film is worth more than the fucking camera is. But the photos I've gotten from it have been really cool because you're overexposing the Cinestill a little bit, and
Right.
you get really cool results from it. And the lens is plastic and shitty and janky, but it gives really cool effects because like whatever you're trying to frame in the center is usually pretty good in focus, and then you get this really nice sort of drop off everywhere else. And so I like that the Lomo reusables. But honestly, like the best camera is the one you can afford. So like
Right.
whatever your price is that you have there, just go buy a camera that you can afford and have fun with it and just start playing and go from there. Because, you know, buying a Leica M6 as your first camera is not going to make you a better photographer. It just means you have more money than most people.
Right. 100% agree with you. I mean, the accessibility of cameras is still extremely high. You can still go to any antique store or thrift shop and get a camera for probably like nothing. If you spend like a few hours driving around, you'll find. I mean, at this point though, people are getting a little bit more privy, but you can get a cheap camera and it will really get you going. I completely agree with you. Whatever you can afford, just go for it, and it'll dig you in.
Yeah, like that's a big thing here. Oh, we've got another one. So, Ember analog. I shot 100C last week and was surprised at how similar it looks to Instax, same chemistry. So it kind of it is. So that's where Fuji got the chops to build Instax, was making the ep100 because they licensed the pack film stuff from Polaroid back in the day and then started working on their own process. And the only reason they didn't get their pantsuit off them like Kodak did was because they made sure that it was very different from Polaroid's design, whereas Kodak went basically for the same shit.
Right. And if you want to see comparisons, actually, if you look up my Lomo Graph-Lock video on youtube.com/in an instant, I actually did shoot. I took my 4x5 camera. I took a back that had FP100C, and I took the Lomo Graph-Lock with Fuji Instax. I metered properly for both, and I shot them side by side. And it is remarkable how similar those film stocks are. Like you said, I mean, it's using essentially the same software. Obviously, there's different speeds, and one's integral, one's pack film. There's like slight differences in dynamic range, but they do look very similar. To exactly what you were saying earlier, the issue is really that the Fuji's cameras aren't capitalizing on the film. The film is, if there was like a pack film equivalent camera that could shoot Instax easily, natively, it would be like the coolest thing ever to have that. Instead, you have to get mods, and they're really expensive, and they're cool, but not everyone can afford that.
What gave it away was an accidental sun shot where just... So I like the polarizing. The polarizing really cool. Yeah.
Everyone loves the solarization. It's all about the sauce.
Exactly. It's all about the sauce.
Uncle Joe.
How deep underground did some photographers go? I don't understand.
I don't know what to make of this one.
Like, what do you...
I saw photos recently that were pretty cool. There's a tunnel that used to go from upstate New York all the way down into Midtown Manhattan. And a photographer recently went into this tunnel and took these like really cool underground photos. But that's really the most underground.
Yeah, I've never really gone underground with photo taking.
Yeah, well, I mean, we could go underground together.
I mean, that could be like a Sweet Boy getaway.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Sweet Boys Underground. Sweet Boys After Dark. I mean, like, there could be like other.
Sweet Boys After Dark.
Like, who knows what we might get up to?
I mean, the Sweet Boys could get up to all. You know what would be cool is like someone said earlier, we need to have a handshake, but also like Sweet Boys rings. Like,
oh my God, that's amazing.
Like a pinky ring.
I'm going to the jeweler tomorrow, and like when we touch, they like interlock. Yeah, it's
exactly.
Yeah.
Or like when they touch, they go sheesh.
They've got tiny fingers in there.
Yeah, exactly. That would be hilarious.
These ideas just make
Yeah, I love this. I'm fully on board for
good.
the Sweet Boy experience. Yeah, I'm I'm all in. Amber and Analogica. I can't talk right now. How excited are y'all for New Land camera? I think we covered this a bit ago, but I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I have my gold card. I'm number
I
4.
saw that. I'm jealous. I think I'm number 78. I got a red card.
That's not bad though. You know, you're top 100. That's pretty
Yeah,
good.
I'm down with the top 100.
Yeah.
I'm excited to check that out. Or is it the only thing that made me choose a Polaroid over an Instax wide was the sun photos? I hate it when the sun comes out black in Instax.
It's a valid purpose reason. I mean,
Well, I mean, obviously not a Soundgarden fan, so I'm just gonna.
yeah, I mean, like, oh, dying.
Won't you come?
Yeah, so clearly not. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, that goes back to like the Polaroid versus Instax thing. It's like Instax has almost, well, very, very narrow dynamic range. And so like Polaroid is good for that stuff. If you're looking to take a little bit less of a contrasty shot that you can take a photo of the sun in, and maybe have some information in another area of the photo, then that's
Well, and that's the thing too, is like the medium is so beautiful. Like one of the first really nice Instaxes that I ever saw was Dave Rollins. He took a bunch of Instax photos of us with his Graflex, and it was almost like when he gave, I was just like, yeah, it's like a tear formed. It was just like, this is so beautiful. And just to plug Dave out there, Dave just released a book here, Portrait of a Photographer, and it was a project that he did that was one camera, one film type, and he created over 60 portraits of different photographers with his Graflex, and it's available now on his page if you want to check out some sweet bokeh portraits.
yeah, that project is nice.
Yeah, and I was a little stunned because there's we talk about Han there's a
Oh, there it is. Ah,
yeah,
ah.
this is one of my all-time favorite photos that's ever been taken. Oh, this guy, this is the real goat right here.
Oh, yeah.
Grant Britton, that guy.
Yeah, Grant is just talk about kings.
Dude, he should be a sweet boy too.
He might be eligible. His Instagram is so great. I mean, like, talk about people who have like evolved to the current photography world. Like Grant's IG is incredible.
Well, and Grant's work blows my mind. So he was the first guest I had that gave me sample photos because I'd never thought about that as a thing before. And when I was talking to him about interviewing, I was like, "Hey, can you just send me a quick blurb about you and like a just a profile photo?" And he's like, "Oh, do you want some other photos too?" I'm like, "Sure, if you want to send me some other photos, that's cool." And dude sent me like 500 megs of his photos.
What? God.
Yeah, and he's like, just pick which ones you like. And it was all of these like old school photos from his like skate days,
That's
and
so
then a bunch of his like artwork. And I was just like, dude, your creative photography is fucking mind blowing. Like
wow.
this is cool shit. Like you've just been kind of like people know you as like the skateboard photography
Right.
guy. Like, man, his creative stuff is so
Wow.
beautiful. He's just like one of the nicest dudes ever too.
What a legend.
Guy, absolute legend. And speaking of legends, like Dave took one of my all-time favorite photos of me that's ever been taken. This was at Armand's shop in
Oh,
Denton, in Camera Exchange.
that's Denton right there. Oh my God, that's awesome.
So if you haven't picked one up yet, I definitely recommend hitting up Synodar on the grams and clicking that link in his bio to pick up one of these sweet books there.
Sweet
And
book.
Grant's page, it's J Grant Britton is where you can find him on the grams. And then where is it here? I feel like Dan asks, Ben, are you working on any new projects, books? I enjoyed the Roadside Hudson Valley book.
Oh, that's very nice of you to say, Dan. I love his username. I always think about that. I feel like Dan. I mean, I feel like Ben sometimes. I feel like Dan sometimes too. Um, yes, I actually finished a project the already in the books, so to speak. But I haven't actually finished scanning everything yet, and it's like so overwhelming to me. I've really set it aside, and I'm gonna come back to it. But I have the concept, I have the book, I have all the photos finished or taken, captured. Yeah, I haven't yet collated everything and sorted everything. But the basic concept of the book is about like the life and death of the West. Like there's a lot of focus sometimes on the decay of like Route 66 and stuff like that. But I'm going to juxtapose that a little bit with like the flourishing life that's also out there, and the incredible nature and vibrant people out there. So I have that project in the bag. I worked on it last year. I spent a lot of time on that. So I'm very excited about it. I'm just not done with it yet.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's like it's big for me.
Oh, I'm excited for when that comes out. I love that kind of stuff. Like, one of my favorite books I've got in the collection is Jason Lee's A Plain View, which
Oh
was
my
like a
god.
road trip all through Texas, and it wasn't really capturing like the death of things, but just like the things that people drive past every day that they kind of ignore.
Right. Yeah.
It's a cool book if you haven't come across it. I
That
think he's doing a reissue in 2022.
Oh, sick. I don't have a copy of it. I've seen a lot of the photography from it, but Lauren stopped in to say, can't hear because I'm at a concert, but wanted to pop in and say hi. That's dedication right there.
That's awesome. Hi, enjoy the
That's
concert. Um, I I have a book that's done. I just haven't dropped it for pre-order yet because I'm
Whoa.
just fucking lazy and been going through some shit the last few months. So I'll probably do that soon.
Did you have it
It's
printed
all
or are you using like Blurb or something?
I'm gonna use Blurb to do the printing, but instead of just having Blurb do the shipping, like what I'm gonna do with it is like go like have them ship me the copies because I like
Yeah,
to go through them and make sure they all look good before shipping them to people, and then throw in the something a little personal. And I like doing prints with them too. So
that's cool. That's what I did with my last book. I basically did like a special edition that I ordered in bulk to me, which I signed and put like a sticker in and stuff, and then had like a soft cover Blurb edition that was that anyone could order because like it is going to be cheaper the soft cover, but it depends on how many you pre-order. Blurb's printing quality is unbelievably good, so
yeah,
like I mean I definitely want to use them again even if they're a little bit expensive.
I've been extremely happy with them. Like I did my first book with them. And I also like to do the runs in like sort of limited things. So it's like the first
Yeah,
book, like a 90 copy edition, and like that was it. I'll probably cap this one out at. I think I'm gonna do the like because I did this with my partner at Northern Film Collective. We put out an annual book there, and to figure out how big of an edition we were gonna do, we did a pre-order, and then based
good.
on how many orders we got from the pre-order, we just took that number and added like a few extra copies to make it an even one. So for that edition, we did 150 books for like the initial run of that one. So I'll probably do a similar thing with the Polaroid book, and it's called Quarantineroids, and it's 53 days of Polaroid during quarantine.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it was only supposed to be 2 weeks, and so I was like, "This will be easy. I could take a couple
Well,
Polaroids a
COVID
day."
was only the last 2 weeks.
Well, that was it. The government was like, "Oh yeah, you're only going to be stuck in your house for 2 weeks," and I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I could take some." And then it was like fucking months, and I'm like, "I can't take Polaroids every day for months. This is going to bankrupt me." Like, it's
Yeah, you didn't realize you
so
invested in that project.
So I ended it at 53 days because I was just like that, whatever. I'm done with it. But that book is completely done and ready, and I've done a test print of it, and I was happy with how it came out. So I just have to put it for pre-order. And I'm gonna do a reissue of my first book, and because I'm prepping to do like a follow-up to that one, and that was all like convenience stores in Toronto, which is kind of cool because we don't really see a lot of convenience stores in like where I grew up. It was like the gas station, that was it. So and for some people out there, it's like the Wawa. You know?
Yeah, right. Shout out to Wawa, by the way.
Yeah.
Much love.
Who doesn't love a good Wawa? Or
Wawa,
if you're in Texas, a Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
You got I have mad for love for Buc-ee's.
I've never been to a Buc-ee's.
You didn't go to a Buc-ee's when you were in Texas?
I don't think maybe I honestly did. It was a blur. I was losing consciousness. I drove so many miles. I probably went to like 10 Buc-ee's. I don't even remember that.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm jealous. So Denton's like easily one of my most favorite places.
It's so fucking cool. It is like so cool there. I couldn't believe how cool it was there. What a beautiful place. Just like unbelievable. And the people there are great, obviously, but the place.
Yeah, it's so cool. And you got to go to the Cam Exchange, right?
Well, at the time, actually, Jason Lee's exhibit was occurring, so we couldn't get into the store because personnel were Armand was like at the exhibit, but we like met outside the store and we were there, we just didn't go inside.
Oh, that's too bad. His store is really cool. He's got so much neat stuff in there.
Yeah. Well, it's the reason to go back. I'm gonna definitely go to Polacon at some point.
Yeah, you got to go. When Polacon just happened for this year, but Polacon 7. And then there's Polacon Bay Area, which I'm hoping the border will have calmed itself down by then, because that was the last trip I took before the world ended, was the first Polacon Bay Area. So
yeah, I got to make it out to SF.
Well, and there's so many, because if you make it out there, there's JP, there's Han, there's so many great people out there.
I know. There's like a whole other pocket universe up there. I can't believe I haven't met JP yet. I feel like we're blood brothers. Just absolute king.
He absolutely is. So I'm curious, how did you get into film photography, but also Polaroid?
I think that I got into Polaroid stuff probably like 2015 or maybe 2014, just because my mom got me one of the cameras and was like, hey, you like photography, this is photography. And it just sort of was the gateway drug I needed to get me back into the mix. And with that, I probably was gifted a film camera prior to that. That was a lomography fisheye camera. And it was just okay, well, this is step one of a slippery slope. And so, it's really taken off from there. And the YouTube channel has just been a egregious excuse to buy more cameras and meet everybody in this incredible community who I love and am in love with.
It's such a great community, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was the godsend of COVID, having all these people online that are incredible, beautiful people that are so nice and extremely supportive of each other, which you can't beat that. The film community is just
well, and the online is great, but also in person. The Polacons are so much fun. The Film Paideia in San Clemente, that's a cool one.
Everyone talked it was the orgy that they must go back to.
It was so good. It was so much fun, and I met so many awesome people there that between Polacon and the Film Paideia, those were the two events that really ingrained how amazing this film community is, and introduced me to a lot of amazing folks that are good friends today now.
Gotta love that. Yeah, now that everything's, well, not everything's opened up. COVID's still in the mix, but New York is doing pretty good. I've gotten to meet so many people that I've only known from online, and none of them have even, like, not one person has tried to kill me. I can think of one time where I don't think there's been any attempted murders. I met like a group of people in LA. I've obviously been meeting on a rotational basis all these people in New York, and the folks in Texas. It's just like so awesome to have this community where you suddenly know people around the world that are like your best friends now, and they're just like willing to take you in and yeah, do a Canadian PolaCon. I agree, you should do that.
I've been bugging Daniel about that for a while, so I'd love to make that happen either in Vancouver, Toronto.
If it's in Toronto, I'm definitely coming up.
I might probably try and push it more for Toronto, honestly, even though I live in Vancouver, because there's just more film resources in Toronto than there is in Vancouver. Like, shout out to Downtown Camera and all the different film peeps out there. But like, there's a really, really healthy film community there. Not to say that there isn't a great film community here in Vancouver. It is not as robust, I guess. But there's some great shops here, like Beau Photo in Vancouver is amazing. Nicole does her best to have a really good selection of film, even though there's like the massive film shortage of 2021 that's been happening.
Oh my God. That's been kind of brutal, huh?
Dude, so brutal. Like, it's
the whole industry is going to get saved and become really popular again. They're not going to have the film. Like,
yeah,
what the heck?
Right? There's a weird irony to that.
We put in all the work.
Kind
of... and like now
all you had to do was make film.
So friggin' terrible. It's so terrible. It's crazy thinking about like 2013, even like the amount of film that was available then, and just like the fact that it was wasted on the industry being so contracted. Whereas now people would just be going absolutely nuts for that stuff.
It's absolutely crazy. But I mean, it's also a good opportunity for people to try some other stuff. Like, it's hard to track down Portra, but go buy some Lomo 400. It's just as good.
Exactly.
And your wallet, your wallet will love you so much more if you.
Yeah, your wallet's not.
Lomo 400.
Yeah.
And also,
I gotta shoot.
Shout out to Birgit.
For sure.
You gotta shoot some Portra 400.
No, I want to shoot some Lomo 400 and 120. I've never done that.
Yeah, I haven't tried the Lomo 400 and 120 either, and I rave about the Lomo 435. I've heard people bitch about the Lomo 120 because of the paper backing being a little bit of a son of a bitch.
Okay, all right.
So I haven't experienced that. I went and like just burnt way more money than I want to admit on buying a bunch of Fuji Pro 400H.
Oh my God.
I'm good.
Oh, rest in peace. Oh no.
Dude,
well, he had to do it.
Beau Photo had it so cheap. They were selling it for like $9 a roll, no limit. So I was just like, well, that's cheaper than I can get any Kodak for. So I'm gonna, even though I hate Fuji so much,
that was a reasonable purchase at the time for sure.
Yeah, but now I'm just like, did I really need to buy that much fucking film? Like, it was like one of those like snap decisions where it's like I had some money and I had this panic where it's just like, you can't find color film right now, and there's all this film, and I'm gonna buy a bunch, and now it's sitting in my fridge.
Yeah,
I do shoot it.
So you gotta get out and shoot it. The girl who shoots film had problems with Lomo 400 on the 120 as well. What is wrong with the paper backing? I don't understand. Like,
I've heard it's like really hard to get it to
separate from the film.
Not separate from the film, but like loading it is kind of difficult because it's like it's too short of a thing, and then there's not enough leader to.
That would be kind of a stinker.
Yeah, so I guess in some cameras it's kind of annoying. Yeah, I feel like Dan says Ektar 100 gang. Ektar 100.
Oh, Ektar.
Ektar is so good. What's that?
So you're speaking to the right guys right now.
Yeah, Ektar 100, like some of my favorite stuff I ever shot was in Nevada, at Hoover Dam on Ektar 100.
The blues and like the warm tones of Ektar 100 work so well in that sort of context. I just shot like 10 rolls of it in like the desert and Colorado, and it was like, it's just like perfect. I love Ektar. And I don't even think it's underrated anymore. There was a time where people weren't really shooting Ektar that much. It was not as popular, I don't think, because maybe, I don't know, you could say it's not as good of a portrait format, but I disagree. I think it looks amazing for portraits.
It's great for portraits too.
Yeah.
I think one that gets slept on a bit because I think it's only available in 35 mil is Pro Image 100.
I have not shot Pro Image 100, so that's something to do.
Pro Image is nice. It's kind of like if Ektar and Portra had a baby.
Yeah, I'm a Color Plus bitch myself.
Color Plus, I like it. I never really shot a lot of it until the film shortage happened, and it was like the only film that I could get a hold of. So yeah, I got some Color Plus.
Ooh, and how nice is that canister? It's the nicest canister.
Right? I gotta admit, because I keep looking at it, and I'm like, why do I have this old ass canister? And I'm like, this isn't an old ass canister. I just shot this like a week ago, but it looks so like kind of old school.
It says Kodacolor 200 on it. I don't know why they didn't just name the film Kodacolor 200. I think it would probably be more popular.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Like I like the film cartridge, and it looks a lot better than the Max one, where it's just like 400 Max.
Oh, yeah, it just says 400 on it.
This one's my favorite though. The T-Max 3200 cartridge. I like that little shot of red there.
Yeah, it's very professional looking. I love it.
It's a cool film. I wish I could find Color Plus even on a good day with no film shortage.
Yeah, apparently I've been lucky buying some in stores, but I hear that it's like very hard to get it right now. They're depriving us. They're depriving the people.
Well, that's no good.
I'm a little nervous about Kodak, to be honest. Like, I love that like Kodak is going to be the only like mass producer of film. Like, I don't think that's like a good thing. With Fuji pulling out, like Kodak's corporate structure is such a mess. I just am very concerned about that. Like in a day, they could just evaporate because of like some huge business problem that they have.
That is, yeah, I never really thought about it that way, but that is kind of a concerning thing because, like, it's with Fuji just being Fuji, it's putting a lot of stress on Kodak. And, the smaller boutique ones like, Lomo and Ferrania and stuff like that, like, I don't think they have the volume to pick up that slack. If Kodak were to disappear, that would be just like Filmageddon. Like,
yeah, it would be crazy. And like, I'm not saying I'm like doom and gloom or anything like that, but like when Kodak loses $1 billion because they like have insider trading, which happened last year, it's like, that is crazy. That's like the kind of stuff that sinks companies, especially ones that are on skates already. So, and then when they have these shortages, I mean, everybody's experiencing that, but it's just like one thing might lead to another and you never know. So, we're gonna start shooting plates, says JP. We're gonna go back to the dark ages. Everyone's gonna be on tintypes. That would be kind of hype, actually.
I wouldn't be upset about that.
I wouldn't be very upset. No, we'd figure it out.
What if we went back to tintypes and like the gunpowder flashes?
Yeah. Life finds a way.
That'd be fucking hilarious. I mean, if Kodak tanked, that'd be sad too, because then Cinestill would go away because it's just repackaged Kodak basically. Ilford supremacy. Yeah, I mean, we have neglected Ilford in our talk so far.
We have not even. We're not even talking about Ilford. I love Ilford. I mean, but that's the thing; they don't produce color, so it's like. I think black and white is always going to be okay. Like black and white will survive for 200 years or more, but the color production is what's like very concerning. Ilford's amazing. I love FP4 is one of my favorite film stocks. That's like my daily driver for black and white. But yeah,
I have a controversial favorite with Ilford. I really love XP2.
Really? Okay, interesting.
Like, really love it because it's got so much grain. I like how grainy it is and how contrasty it is. But what I also dig about XP2 is it's a way for people to shoot black and white if they live somewhere that doesn't have a lab that can do it. If
That's a
they have
way to look.
like just a C41 only lab,
Yeah.
they can buy that XP2 and they can fuck around with black and white and still drop it off when they drop their color off.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's not as fun for people developing film at home, but it's like an accessibility option. That's an interesting way to look at it. That the other issue with the like Fuji thing is Fuji's, the supplier of such a huge amount of the world's color chemistry. So
Yeah.
that's the other issue. It's like if we want color to stick around, we're gonna have to have more people supplying that aspect of the post production. So I'm just shaking my boots.
Yeah, that makes me a little nervous.
My little boots are shaking, but I think Polaroid will survive because they've got a billionaire as CEO. Yay!
Yay, Polaroid. And I mean, they'll sell some more digital TVs or whatever. And it'll be
Yes,
okay.
they will still put their name on TVs and clothing that you can get at TJ Maxx
God bless.
and Marshall.
I feel like Dan says, do you guys prefer black and white photography to color or vice versa?
I personally prefer color, but I really almost look at black and white like a totally different like vibe for me. I don't think they're like interchangeable always. I love black and white for like large format. I think it's incredible. It is like reminiscent of photography from the last 100 years. And I've gotten more into black and white because of large format, to be honest. But yeah.
I'm a toss-up. So I was a real color whore for a while and just shot nothing but color. But then when I would shoot black and white, I'd be like, I fucking love like
Yeah.
the look of black and white sometimes. And so I last year, somewhere along like maybe a year or so ago, I started alternating my feed, 3 shots color, 3 shots black and white, so that I had to start shooting more black and white, so I'd have some black and white content to be able to post. And so then I started carrying 2 cameras around, usually one loaded with color and one with black and white, so I can, vary stuff. And I love having color. I think color is amazing. Like I just recently was gifted a Fred Herzog book on Vancouver that's like all Kodachrome that just is like fucking mind blowing. Like
Yeah.
I wish I could have had a chance to shoot Kodachrome. But that being said, some black and white just really hits. Like, have you ever played with Double X yet?
Yeah, I shot a roll of Double X like a few weeks ago. It was really cool.
Oh, it's so good. Like Double X is just like chef's kiss. And then if you get a chance, the Ferrania P30 is fucking amazing.
I had a mixed experience with that. Like I shot a couple rolls that I loved. Like what an interesting looking film. So like milky gray, silvery. But then I had a roll that like several shots had like clearly a production problem with it. Like there was like a white stripe across the middle of the frame or like stuff that wasn't due to the camera, just due to like the film being so like roughshod. I don't even know what's happening with Ferrani right now. Do you know any updates?
No updates. But the last time Freestyle had a bunch, I like ordered a ton of it. So I've got like probably 10 rolls of it sitting in the fridge because I just love it. Like the blacks on it, I've never seen.
They're so cool.
Blacks on that film, and it's really unforgiving though. Like
it's really unforgiving. It's that's like no dynamic range. I would love to shoot that in large format. That would be an amazing format for like,
man, like a 4x5 sheet of that or an 8x10. That would be just insane. Yeah, exactly.
That would.
Yeah, I would absolutely love that. JP's like, what the fuck are shadows? JP, I'm sure that your black and white photos aren't all bunk, man.
Sure, they're great, dude. Bro, I'm sure they're phenomenal, dude. Oh my god, we got Birgit in here. Ooh-wee! What up,
How's it going, Birgit?
I saw Birgit on this show. Birgit, I'm in my Halloween costume. I'm wearing my Squid Game jumper. I don't know if you've seen the show. We haven't talked about Squid Game, so I assume you haven't, but there we go. There we go.
I thought he was retiring in Florida. Or you're gonna be like, what are those guys from Russia, the Russian gangster guys in the tracksuits?
Oh yeah, I would love to be a Russian gangster in a tracksuit. Like take a life or two, see what happens.
Yeah. Listen to the hard bass.
Yeah. This thing is nice. I got this on Etsy for like $30. It came with pants and everything. Like, I don't even know how these people are making money.
That's wild. Fabian is asking Polaroid versus Fujifilm pros and cons.
Should I go off?
Go off.
Wind me up. Wind me up.
I mean,
wind me up.
I'm trying to think, like, how do I wind you up?
Okay.
Polaroid is the superior film.
Here's the thing. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm gathering my thoughts. So, the benefit of Fuji is that the film stock is rock solid. It is much better under variable temperatures. It can develop in front of your eyes without being damaged by the sun. It is just a more solid film stock that's less sensitive to its environment and can be expired and last longer. It has a longer shelf life. It's cheaper. But the cameras that Fuji produces for it are inferior to the cameras that exist for Polaroid. Now, to Polaroid.
Just wait, jump on that. Does Fuji make a camera that goes like this?
It does not. It never has.
It never will.
And it never will. And so that's the thing. That leads me into Polaroid. So Polaroid film, beautiful dynamic range, incredible color science that just hits different. They have a lot more variation in the films that they offer. They've got 600 black and white, SX70 black and white. They've got SX70 color, 600 color, which are all different film stocks, which is a huge benefit of Polaroid. And the cameras that Polaroid offers are so superior simply from their history. Polaroid's modern cameras are, I would say, similar to Fuji's modern cameras in their simplicity. Although Polaroid does have a lot more features now, like with Bluetooth features and stuff like that. But their lens still...
I'm kind of stoked to check out the One Step Plus that they just dropped.
Yeah, the Now Plus is very good. I'm always very positive, and my reviews are typically they're gonna sway positive, but I'm genuinely the Now Plus is really good. And so I that's all I'll say. I think it is a very solid camera. But to what I'm saying, the SX70, which is to me one of the most incredible cameras ever produced in all of camera history, is something that Polaroid has as the bullet in the chamber, on the set of Rust. It is just the GOAT camera. And there
Dude.
and
Dude. That was too. Would that make Fuji Alec Baldwin then?
Yes, that would make Fuji Alec Baldwin.
Okay.
So, in conclusion, if you have the Lomo Graph-Lock back by Lomography and you want to use some beautiful Fuji emulsion in its most perfect form, then buy some Instax film. If you're looking to have an incredible camera user experience and be in touch with the one-step nature of looking through a viewfinder and being absolutely one with the photo, go with Polaroid. That's what I would say.
I think, too, honestly, that there's a little bit more magic to a Polaroid photo than an Instax.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And that's why I personally kind of reserve giving Polaroids to people that I feel closer to or feel more connected to, because there's more of like a specialness to a Polaroid than there's like an Instax. I'll give anybody an Instax, but
Right.
in Chrissy Wootography's called me out on this. I do have a hierarchy of like, the more I like someone, the better of an instant photo they're gonna get from me. It's like a Polaroid or a pack film shot. It's like, you're in like Ubermensch territory.
Yeah, sure. An 8x10, that's like exclusive territory.
Yeah, exactly. And there's something too, like when the photos go janky on Polaroid, I kind of dig like its imperfections. Like Instax is great because it's a good film, but I like the unpredictiveness of Polaroid because life is weird too, and life's not perfect. So I feel like Polaroid's the perfect medium for capturing life.
I agree with you. I think that also something that Polaroid genuinely offers is its interpretation of the world. If I'm out shooting, I know when a photo is like a normal film photo on my 120 camera, and I know when it's a Polaroid because Polaroid brings out a certain character that nothing else offers. Like Instax produces a fairly true to life image. I mean, it's essentially like you could take your Fuji digital camera, take a photo, and print it, and it would, that would look perfect. But with a Polaroid, like it will make the sky almost this painterly blue, and it will punch up the reds a little bit, and it just has this essence to it that is like you almost can't put words to it, but that's the magic that keeps us coming back and shooting.
Yeah, exactly. And then I feel like Dan says that Polaroid just needs to hire Zane. I agree.
Yeah, 100%.
They should get Zane on the payroll there, 100%. And then JP was terrorizing Birgit about 4x5 promo.
God. Anything is possible, she says. That's a great answer to anything if you work in the film industry. You can just say anything is possible.
Well, and that was the same thing she said when we were talking, because I did grill her a little bit about 4x5 Lemo, because that would be fucking cool. I would love to shoot some 4x5 Metropolis or Purple. That'd be so cool.
And you know what? Anything is possible.
Anything's possible. You just, what you can believe, you can achieve. This is not a question, more of a comment, but Ling Lang says Fujifilm is bae.
Fujifilm is an abusive bae.
Fujifilm is like the bae that's like, he hits me, and that's how he says he loves me.
Yeah, that's basically, I feel like I've been battered by Fuji, and somehow I still love them. Nico from Nico's photo, his photo show?
Yeah.
Yeah, his like news show. He had a video that was really interesting. That was very pro Fuji in a way, or more so like don't have hate be like the main thing that's coming out of you when you talk about something in the film industry, even if it's hurt you like emotionally. Like a lot of people are be like, Fuji absolutely sucks, I hate Fujifilm. His perspective was that like Fuji succeeded so much on the heels of their film business that they diversified and became successful in other things, and that's like a positive thing, which is like hard to wrap your head around because and like I could take it or leave it honestly with that perspective, but like he's saying that Fuji succeeded, a lot more people are employed by Fuji because they don't just make film now. So I don't know, there's a couple ways to look at it. I don't know if it's possible to look at it that positively for you, but it's something to think about.
I can't really. Polographic made a really hurtful comment here. Anything is possible except zero. And they're not wrong. So time zero will never happen again. And there's an interesting story of why like time zero died is it was because of a hurricane. There was like the main chemical compound for time zero was made by some chemical production company in Florida, and their factory got destroyed in one of the hurricanes in like the early 2000s or something like that. And they decided that they didn't want to rebuild. They just took the insurance payment and retired, and that's why Time Zero died.
Yeah, that's like one of those vibes that just isn't very so
No,
like.
that's not a chill vibe at all. But that's
No, that's like
that's
not a very chill vibe. Dislike button. That's why we need the dislike button for that entire situation.
I mean, speaking of
It,
unchill, what's that? What hits you?
no, I was just thinking about like the miracle of, I mean, the coincidence of things being saved and formats surviving and stuff like that. Like even with Polaroid, like Polaroid or Florian Caps and his squad, like they were unable to save pack film. We all know this, but they managed to save the 8x10 machine. Like that is like a miracle almost that happened. So like there's some ways we can thank our lucky stars because like a couple things got rescued in that whole shit show.
They just need someone to turn it on and make some fucking 8x10 film. Not that anyone's impatiently waiting for it at all.
Yeah, not that we've been like waiting for 2 years.
This is speaking of unchill things. Do you miss Spectra films?
Yes, I really do. I have some Spectra in the fridge, and like very, very rarely I'll bust it out, and especially the black and white, which is, if you get a good pack, it looks completely like the same as when you first bought it. The color has shifted a lot since then, but
yeah.
Like when it hits right now, it's like seeing the scale of the film unit. It's unbelievable. Spectra is a true loss in its scope, and the cameras are so cool, and it does still kill me. I mean, I try not to think about it too much. I understand why they discontinued it. I understood like stuff needed to happen for the Polaroid Go to make sense, and it was losing them money, and like I understand from a business perspective why they would want to discontinue it, but it does still hurt. It's hard for an impossible project company to not treat something as if it's impossible and just say it's possible to discontinue it.
I got so bitter about the whole Spectra thing that I gave all of the Spectra film I had left to a friend that was really into Spectra and sent her the cameras too, and I was just like,
whoa,
Spectra's just dead to me.
You cleared house.
Yeah, it was just too hurtful. It was like one of those traumatic things. I didn't want to look at the film. I didn't want to look at it. The Go, though, what do you think of the Go?
Yeah, I think about the Go all the time. I mean, because I was involved in the release of the Go, and like I did the videos for Polaroid, and I really actually had a great time doing that. And the Go, like, despite I think what some people think, is actually able to produce really cool photos. Very different. They don't look like Instax, but that's because it's Polaroid. We don't want it to look like Instax.
It's so tiny.
It's the only thing I'll say. It is very, very small. And I don't necessarily like bust it out as much as I thought I was going to, but
soon to be gone.
No comment. I'm contractually obligated not to respond to
that. That was well played, though, Nico. I like that one.
I can acknowledge that it was clever, but I can't comment on that.
I think it's a neat camera. I'm glad I didn't pay for mine. I used like travel points from one of my loyalty cards to like get one because I was curious about it, and I don't know if I'm gonna keep it. It's neat, but I don't know. I'm almost disappointed that it's not. I thought they would have made it be a little bit closer to size to like the Instax Mini, but it's even smaller than the Mini.
Yeah, it is even smaller than the Mini. And it's. I thought it was probably going to be comparable to the Instax Square. I assumed that was going to be the size, but you know, I think it's the size that it is because they needed to make it more affordable. Like, you know, however they could cut costs, I think probably they needed to make it like palatable for the consumer to still spend like $1 per shot on it. You know, the other thing about that product is that it wasn't really for us. Like that's the thing that a lot of people have trouble with in like for Polaroid specifically is when Polaroid releases a product that's not for us, like can feel alienating for customers because they're like, what the heck? We've been like giving our heart and soul to this company and they released this camera that like we didn't ask for. But at the same time, Polaroid needs to compete with Instax in some way. They got surpassed by Fuji. Fuji sells millions of cameras every year. It's a huge market share that Polaroid needs to now catch up on. And so they're doing whatever they have to do that. And if it succeeds, great. It keeps our film and our cameras, our 600 and our S670 film. If it fails, that sucks. But Polaroid, again, is backed by a billionaire, and I hope that wouldn't really like affect the business in any sort of meaningful way.
I agree 100% with that. Like, it wasn't made for us, and so no matter how much we hate or dislike it or whatever, that doesn't matter because we should want it to be successful.
Right.
Because if Go is successful, then that means we'll still continue to get the film that we rely on, and hopefully it would give them more, R&D funds or whatever to build us cameras that would be more to like our liking. Like it would be cool to see like a pro version of the Now Plus that had like a glass lens or something like that. Like that would be really cool to see something more like that. So I think the Go is important and we need to not hate it.
Yeah, we need to be like just not as incendiary about it. I think in general, like the community needs to just chill on it. And I don't even hear people trashing it very much. But at the time, it was very controversial when it came out. At this point, I'm just hopeful that it's doing okay. Like it's not something we'll really know. Unless it does get discontinued, we won't know if it was a success or not. The camera is amazing. I think the camera is if someone walks into a store, Walmart, Target, they see that camera and they don't know much about any of this stuff, they're going to be like, that is the cutest thing I've ever seen. I need that.
It's super cute. It's got a tiny little face on it. Like, where's mine? I think it's over here.
Where's our Go? Where's my Go at? I'm going to grab my Go.
It looks like it's winking at you. Like, it's such a happy little camera. It's kind of bright. Yeah, there we go.
I can't find it. It's so small, I can't see it.
That's what
it's somewhere. I think it might be at the apartment. She did mention that, and it hurt. It hurt a lot, but we grow, and we move forward.
It's a cool camera.
Someone 3D.
Like
this is not the Go, but this is the same size as the Go. This is
wild.
a 3D printed. Yeah, isn't this cool?
They should make
and it has
like a
What? Sorry.
That would be a really cool like throwback edition. Is if they made like a Polaroid Go look like a one step like that.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I'm sure they could do it.
Kind of a Go, but this is like the classic. Have you seen the prototypes?
No.
I'll DM it to you. Like I have these like image. I can't remember where they're from, but it's like the actual 3D renderings of all the prototypes versions of the Go, and it is absurd.
Come on, buddy. You can fire.
The 10-second time. I'm just gonna hold still.
Oh, it's a timer.
Mm-hmm. I can see the light.
We need Yeah, I miss duochrome. Duochrome is the shit.
Duochrome's great. I mean, so like that's another benefit of Polaroid. Like they've got duochrome blue and yellow. We love that. They've got variety, and which is the spice of life.
Variety is a spice of life, and I agree with JP. They should have put 10 in here. They could have done 10.
They could have definitely. They could have done 10.
But then people have been like, well, why can't I get 10 in the other ones?
Exactly. The brand at this point is 8, and that's just the way it is. They could have made I-Type 10, but it would have made producing 600 film even more expensive because they would have had to have produce 2 different cartridges and all that. So we got what we got. we can go into Target or
And
whatever your store is, buy Polaroid film. It's a miracle.
I'm going to say on this question, what's more valuable now, FP100C or Spectra? I think FP100C because it actually works most of the time.
Yeah. Spectra's value is probably not even very high. Like, it doesn't age well at all. So
No, it aged terribly.
really bad.
Yeah. And I mean, I love the cameras though. Like the one
Yeah.
I couldn't get rid of, I had like one of those like crazy Minolta ones that has like all of the.
Yeah.
I kept that one just as a reminder of my previous love of Spectra. But yeah, emotional value. I would probably say the emotional value on Spectra is higher than pack film.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I that has have any of the Fuji stocks that dropped, were they of any meaning to you, like personally?
The only one that I was bummed out about was Superior 1600.
I mean, that's a huge loss.
Yeah.
That's like because that film hasn't been replaced in any way.
No, and I don't think they will replace it.
No, and like the fact is, I mean, there's not that many 400 speed color left, so Pro 400H was a loss. Um, if something like Provia or wait, is Provia the only slide left? Or they're still going to be 35 millimeter Velvia, right?
Yeah, there's still going to be a 35 millimeter Velvia, but Provia is like the
But
only
like,
one.
I don't even like that's probably going to get discontinued soon too. So like, thank God that Kodak saved Ektachrome because that'll be the only slide film besides Lomo has one. But have you shot Lomo slide film?
I've not, no.
I'm curious about it. I'm curious if it looks really punchy, but it's Lomo.
I mean, you've got the right person watching right now. You'd be like, hey,
Birgit,
hey,
what would you say is the main characteristics of the Lomography slide film?
yeah. What is it? 600 versus. That's a tough one. 600 versus SX70 on the color because 600 is a little more versatile.
Yep.
And it's what most people are going to shoot with because the only reason you'd ever shoot SX70 is if you had an SX70 camera. Um, fun fact out there for people that don't know, it isn't a choice. You can't use one or the other film in it. Well, you can use 600 film in an SX70 if you get an ND filter for it. But the reason why there's two different films is they're different film speeds. 600 is like 640 and SX70 is like 100 something. You can get your SX70 cameras converted, and there's a wonderful gentleman watching right now, Zane Pollard, that can make those modifications for you, so you can use the 600 film in your SX70 cameras. But I do like keeping one of them using SX70 because I like how SX70 works for like daylight portraits and stuff.
Yeah. SX70 film is gorgeous. I mean, the color is incredible. It's extremely saturated and very high contrast in most situations. It depends on the day. SX70 film is the most unpredictable, I think, in terms of like the back you get might be green or something, and the shadows might be soft, but in others it might be the most contrasty ever. But like when SX70 hits,
It hits so nice.
It hits different. It hits different. And it is the most reminiscent, I think, of the original Polaroid chemistry, and like the sharpness of it and the clarity of SX70 film is really nice. So I agree with you. Like, I keep one converted and one not, and then I've got my SLR 680. So I always have one absolutely that can shoot SX70, and I love SX70 black and white too. I think it's really nice.
Ooh, SX70 black and white is so good.
Yeah,
like it's wicked awesome. I also really like SX70 in the studio.
yeah.
So I use like a Mint flash bar to get the PC out port.
Yep.
And hook it up to a couple of strobes, and it works really good with that too. And Zane built me an Open SX70 one so that I could play with the studio and use the dongle and stuff. So kind of excited about that.
Awesome.
Where is it? What did people say? The only problem is SX70. It's the more expensive camera of both. Well, an SX70 camera is expensive, but that's because you're buying like a real SLR camera. It's not
Yeah.
just a piece of plastic with a mirror in it, which is what most of the box cams are and stuff. Jeffrey Filmat, doesn't it upset you that SX70 film can be inconsistent, or does it just add to how special it is when a photo turns out well? What are your thoughts?
I think that I used a lot of SX70 film on like the project I was talking about earlier, because I was like in the desert, and that's like the perfect moment for an SX70 film, in my opinion. The like open blue sky, sand, it's just like that's SX70 for you. And sometimes its contrast was so tremendous that the sky would be like almost black. It was so dark because like the blue was so deep, and so sometimes it is too much. But yes, when it hits so good that it's worth the shots that don't feel like they come out as well or are too contrasty.
Well, I like the inconsistencies too. Like that's one of the things that I love and hate about Polaroid is that it's not a perfect film. You get weird, janky shit with it, and like that's one of the things that I find really magical about it.
Yeah.
I think this was an SX71.
Ooh. Yeah, the round frame with an ND filter in the SX70 is really nice.
Yeah, yeah, it was. Oh, that was with a converted SX70. It's one
Okay.
of the ones that Zane made for me there. And then someone is asking, will we see 8x10 Polaroid? Hopefully soon. It was supposed to be this summer, but summer's over now. So,
Yeah, I've heard. I mean, I've heard like actually soon. So hopefully that is true. you know, that's all. That's all I could say. But I think that it's supposed to actually be happening now. So it's going to be interesting when that actually drops because it's been so long. Like, do you just buy the film? Like, do you just buy like as much as you want of it, knowing that it may be gone for another 3 years or something like that? Or do you buy like one box and hope it doesn't get out of stock within a week? I don't know what's going to happen when it drops. Like, I don't know what the demand is. It's extremely expensive, so there's like a limit to how much you can buy. But
I'll probably, like, when it comes out, I'll probably buy a 3-pack.
I think that's what I will do too. I think it's hard to justify spending over $600 on film, so I think a 3-pack is probably the limit. Maybe we'll see who's in the gift giving mood. Maybe if
Yeah,
if we get a 15% discount code, let's see if it applies to 8x10.
yeah, Christmas is coming. I need to fix that on my affiliate site. I think I have like a 10 or 15% discount people can get. I got to fix
I
that.
bet it wouldn't apply to 8x10. I bet they would like disable it. That would just be like $40 off.
JP's being a sweet boy here. He's like, yeah, I really love this Polaroid talk between y'all. So knowledgeable with this stuff.
Gee, absolute, just one of the sweetest boys. SBU. He's an SBU grad. I'm just gonna come out. He's an absolute SBU alum.
Yeah, part of the first graduating class.
Yeah, he's an adjunct professor at the Bay Area chapter.
He's on a 10-year track.
He is, and I really hope he gets that pension because he deserves it.
The SX70, that's a tough one. What's your favorite SX70?
Oh, that's a really hard question because they're mostly similar, but the sonar model is my go-to. I know a lot of people like the split focus like manual version of the SX70 because it's like shorter. But I'm absolutely a sonar guy. It helps me like tremendously because of my eyesight. Just like getting something in focus in dim lighting, it's a miracle drug.
Well, in the sonar, it's kind of a cool kick. So the sonar technology for the SX70 sonar and for the SLR 680, it has roots to Polaroid's time as a defense contractor for the military. and the sonar autofocus was part of one of the first missile guidance systems that Polaroid created for the U.S. military.
It's incredible. The technology is amazing. And like, it's one of those, that was the first video I ever released, was about sonar autofocus, because I just love it so much. I think it's such a cool feature, for that reason, and for the fact that it was the first SLR camera to have autofocus, and that's how they did it, via sonar. It's such a cool system, and it works so well. It works so quickly. It's amazing. So I personally, the SLR 680 is really my number one camera, but my SX70 converted to 600 that has sonar is definitely second.
Sonar's only kryptonite, though, is glass windows when you're trying to shoot something that's on the other side.
Because it goes bouncy bouncy.
Yeah, because it's since it's sonar.
Yeah.
But sonar is fun at parties, because since it's sonar, you can take pictures, especially if you're using the SLR 680. If you want to take fun party pictures, the SLR 680 should be your weapon of choice, because if there's low light in the situation, the sonar is going to focus it, and this flash has like the power of a million suns shooting in your eyeballs. It's the worst.
It's incredible. I've had photos where I literally couldn't see at all. And I was like, I think you're in frame just based on where I'm standing. And the flash is so powerful and the sonar works so well. It's a lifesaver for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's a great camera. And a lot of people think that the SX70s, the older silver ones, were made out of metal. It's a misnomer. They're all plastic. Every SX70 that was ever created are all plastic. They were metal
plated.
Yeah, metal plated.
But that's still metal. Every time, like, everyone's always like, it's not metal. It is, like, it does make a difference. Like, if you handle the chrome plated ones, they're very, like, strong.
Yeah, they are very different. Yeah, there's a different feel, but they're not made out of metal.
No, but yeah,
it's still plastic.
Metal in there.
So this is an interesting question. The SLR 680 versus the Sun 660.
Okay. So they are, the Sun 660 is a box type camera. I would personally never choose that over the, I mean, the SLR 680 is, I believe, the pinnacle of, it's like the SX70 on steroids. It's like the SX70 gone anabolic. Absolutely ripping it like 90s, like Mark McGuire. It's the best camera I think that they've made. So, I think that the Sun 660 is one of the best box type cameras because it has like flash override, it has sonar override, and it looks really nice. It looks like the classic Polaroid design without looking like stupid, like the early 2000s ones. So that's what I would say to that. I wouldn't ever really pick between them. The SLR 680 is light years ahead of it.
Yeah, like if you were able to choose between a 680 or a 600, I would always go with the 680. But if like the 660 was all that your budget had, go with the 660.
Yeah.
It's the king of box cameras.
Yeah, for sure.
It's some of my favorite Polaroids I've shot were with a 660. And I always like to keep at least one 660 in my collection just to have. The mint flash bar is fucking garbage. That's like, have you ever had a shower and the water pressure is so low it's almost like the shower is just like peeing on you, but it's like someone who has like a prostate issue, so it's just like this little trick. That's what a mint flash bar. Yeah, just a little drip.
It's a little dribbler.
Yeah, it's just a little. It's trying its best, but that's all it could squeeze out.
Yeah, you did mention. Yeah, I would say too, to your point about the SLR or the Sun 660 is like a fun one to have around, or that some of your favorite photos were on that camera. Like the times when I have just gone out with one just for fun, I really do like the photos. Like I love the look of the box type lenses. They're not the same. They don't like perceive reality the same way that the glass lens does because it's like a really nice optics. But it does have its own look to it that is very different, and I really do like it. And that's sometimes what I get when I'm using these newer Polaroid cameras, which some will say, of course, it can't compete with the SX70. it's a plastic lens, but it is like valuable still. It has its look to it. Like if you get a Polaroid Now Plus, you got a great camera. It is actually really, and like
Well, and even
night
the
with,
one step. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, yeah,
Even the one step plus is still
yeah,
a great camera. Like if you pick one of those ones up used, like the Polaroid book that I'm gonna be releasing soon, that was predominantly shot with a one step plus because I was stuck in my apartment by myself,
right,
and I don't have a self timer for any of my SX70s or SLR 680s, so I had to use the one step for the most part because I could do the remote with it and I could do the timer and I could do all of that, and it was a really fun camera to play with from a creative perspective because you have to work within what its limits are.
right,
And it does have some limits, but it also enables you to do so much cool shit with it.
totally,
Like being able to do the manual functions and all of that. And the Now Plus has all that, plus better lenses, plus the autofocus, because that was the only thing
yeah,
that I fucking hated about the One Step Plus is that focus switch.
yeah.
Because I would forget about it sometimes, and then I would waste a shot and be like, oh, God damn it, I gotta flip the switch.
That no, you're everything you're saying. I want to just add a stamp onto. Like I completely agree. Like using the Now Plus because I didn't actually own the One Step Plus. I owned the i1, which had similar Bluetooth features, but the which that camera doesn't work anymore because of the battery. but
So the i1 will still work if you plug a brick to it and put it in the USB port.
worked for me. I don't know whether I need a better brick or something, but
You might need a beefier brick because there were a few i1 shots that I did in the book too, and the only way I can get my fucking i1 to work is by having it plugged into a brick. And
so
that
ridiculous.
thing is such a piece of garbage. It's a terrible camera. It has no redeemable qualities whatsoever.
I personally love the i1, other than the battery. Like I
Well,
really love
it's
viewfinder.
it looks really cool, and
Yeah,
you can make some really cool shots with it. So it's like if you accept it for what it is, then it becomes a really good camera.
yeah.
But when
Plus,
you look at
I
it,
the focus. I mean, it has more stuff in it than even the Now Plus. I mean, for the
yeah,
most, like, it is a superior camera, I think, in terms of lensing. But I
yeah,
get why not everybody loved it. But like, just to add a button to everything you were saying, like the Now Plus, I'm so like not stubborn, but I just use the cameras that I use. I use my SLR 680. You know, I that's like the camera that I use. I'm not really using all kinds of different Polaroid cameras all the time, really, for my personal work. So like being like forced to use the Now Plus to make the review, I was like, holy crap! Like, I'm having the most fun using all these random features, like being like accessing a different part of my creativity and like getting to try something else because this camera has these awesome Bluetooth features. So, you know, I would say there's a lot of validity to what these new modern cameras are offering that the SX70 can't even do.
yeah. I'd say 100% don't sleep on them.
Yeah.
Like they're great cameras. The one caveat I'll throw out there is if you do buy yourself an I-type camera and you decide to get some expired Polaroid film to play with, um, old Polaroids 10 shots, new Polaroids 8 shots. If you're not careful, you're going to waste those other 2 shots.
Yeah.
So either get a dark bag or have a really dark room you could go into so that when you get to that 8th shot, you can take the cartridge out and put the dark slide back into it and reload it in the camera. Or get yourself a box camera to play with to shoot the expired film or pick up like an SX70 or something.
Because the I-type cameras can be a good asset when you're using expired film because if the battery is dead in the expired film, it's like
That's a great point too.
out. But yeah, you got kind of screwed with those last 2 shots.
Yeah, like you can still use them. You just have to be mindful that like you've got those 2 shots left and you don't want to just take the cartridge out and put it back in because you'll lose a shot.
Right.
You want to take that cartridge out in a dark place, like either dark bag or a really dark room, so you can put that dark slide back into it
Exactly.
and take advantage of those last 2 shots.
Yeah. You got to
You don't want to waste it. Polaroid film is precious.
definitely don't want to waste that old stuff.
Oh, Zane coming in with the zinger here. This is so mean. Leica Instax Mini with Supreme Film versus the SX70.
Definitely the Supreme film. The Leica Fuji Instax Mini. What an incredible camera. The lens on that thing is like, wow. I
Right?
can't believe they put a Leica lens on an Instax Mini. Whoa. Have you seen the
So I own one. But I didn't pay the Leica money for it. I bought it off of Craigslist for $150.
Okay.
That's the
You
only
still own it?
reason. I still have it, and I do like it. It's the only Leica that I actually own.
There you go. That's an incredible trivia answer. Yeah, I own a Leica.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, it's the so fort. I
Yeah.
mean, but
So
this is what Fuji needs to do. They need to put a glass lens on one of their cameras, and it makes the pictures look so much better.
it does. And honestly, though, I will say Fuji's lenses, like the plastic lenses that they do have, are good. Like they're really sharp lenses, but they're like you get a single focal length. You got your 60 millimeters. They've never touched that. It's the one thing you can shoot with it. It doesn't have autofocus. The lenses aren't. Although I think like the live Play does the Bluetooth one, but like the lens has no dimension to it. It's like the most flat perspective you could get. There's no like depth of field.
The only one that I'll kind of take back on is the SQ6. I do have some love for the SQ6. That is a decent Fuji camera.
Yeah.
Um, it works great for the square format. It has a lot of nice manual features. The image quality from it's decent. I think it does autofocus with it too. Like it's a decent Fuji. Fuji needs to make more cameras like that one.
Yeah, they keep stripping features instead of adding them.
Yeah, because there's the SQ1, which is
Yeah,
just like pink box of plastic that you can
really
kind of,
nice looking camera that you only press the button.
yeah, that's really all you can do with
It
it.
does.
I type film is 600 film.
What did they ask? I type War 600.
I type is 600 film question mark, and yeah, it is 600 film.
Yes, it's the same thing.
Yeah,
600 has.
but my phone just told me its battery is dying. So
Okay. Well, we've been on for quite a while. I guess that could be our cue.
yeah, this has been dude. It's been so great chatting with you, and I'm looking forward to attending Sweet Boy University.
Yes.
I'm
And just
excited.
say that your interview went really well, and I
Nice.
think that we might be onboarding you for spring 2022. So get your bags ready, and you're coming to college, bro.
I'm gonna be singing the Billy Madison song until springtime now.
You better. You better.
Well, thank you for spending some time with me, and thank you everyone for all the interaction. This has been a very great chat, and I've had a lot of fun with it. Ben, you were amazing, and not just because I'm trying to butter you up for my Sweet Boy application.
Dude, thank you so much for having me on. This was amazing. I love talking to you. I don't know. I don't think you have repeat guests, but I'm coming back on the show. I don't care what you say. I'm coming back. You won't be
I
able to.
probably will do. I definitely will probably do repeats. Like I'm trying to get as many different
Yeah.
people on so far, but there's always the Christmas specials and like things like that.
You
So
won't be able to stop me.
we'll see
I'm
about
a
that. But
threat to you right now. I will be hacking the mainframe to get that. Well,
you'll
I
be
hope,
like
and I hope,
hacking the Gibson. I'm in.
yeah, I'm in. Get in. And I'm like, oh, the code is going across my eyes. Yeah, so I'll be hacking, and we'll see what happens after that.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much again for being on, and everyone. I love you all. Thanks for being on the show. Next week, I'm going to have Mike Padua on from Shoot Film Co. We'll be talking about Leica and
Magic Mike.
yeah, it'd be great to. I haven't seen him since the film Padea in
Oh,
in
shit.
2019, so it'll be good to catch up with him. But thank you again, Ben, and thank you everyone for tuning in.
Thanks, everybody.
All right,
Bye.
cheers.